You stood in front of the mirror, gently brushing through your soft waves. Your lavender dress fluttered slightly at the knees as the fan hummed behind you. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't meant to be. Just simple, graceful, and true to you. You ran your fingers over the delicate lace near the neckline and let out a soft breath. Tonight was important. Behind you, your older sister, Gia, walked in, her heels clicking against the floor. She wore a bold crimson dress that hugged every curve. Her makeup dramatic, her smell even more so. You are seriously wearing that wine. You will disappear in a room full of chandeliers. You kept your gaze on your reflection, unwilling to engage in her little games. I like it, it's comfortable. Comfortable? You do realize you are meeting the Jones tonight, right? They're basically royalty, and their son, I heard he's insanely rich. Imagine being the daughter in law of a billionaire. I wouldn't have to lift a finger. You smiled faintly, keeping your hands busy with your hair. That sounds like a dream, Unni. I hope everything works out the way you want. She rolled her eyes dramatically, not expecting your sincerity. She was trying to pierce your heart, but you wouldn't let her, not tonight. The restaurant was bathed in golden light, glimmering from chandeliers that dangled like frozen stars. Each table was adorned with velvet runners, flickering candles, and silver cutlery that looked untouched. Your family was ushered to a grand table near the window. There sat Mr. Jones and Mrs. Jones, regal in posture and reserved in expression. Your father approached first, arms wide, greeting Mr. Jones with warmth. My old friend, you have not changed a bit. Time has been kind, Hyung. It's good to see you. Your mother gently greeted Mrs. Jones, who gave a small note of acknowledgement. So good to finally meet you, Mrs. Jones. We have heard so much. Likewise, I have been looking forward to this. Her gaze drifted between you and Gia. Gia stood with her chin high, her dress unapologetically bold. Mrs. Jones' eyes narrowed just a bit, but when she looked at you, modest, gentle, quiet, a softness settled in her expression. You must be fine. There is something calm about your aura. Your father wasn't exaggerating. Your breath catch for a moment, surprised by the warmth in her voice. 안녕하세요. Mrs. Jones offered only a polite nod in return and guided you to sit beside her. Gia was left to find her own seat further down. I hope Jungkook will be joining us soon. Yes, he had a last minute board meeting, but he's just texted he will be arriving shortly. Just then, the tall double doors of the restaurant swung open with a soft gust of wind, and all eyes turned. In came Jun Jungkook, a commanding presence even from a distance. He wore a tailored black suit, sharp as a blade, and a gaze that could pierce through walls, but he wasn't walking. Someone was pushing his wheelchair gently forward, and the air shifted. You blinked, your heart stumbled. He is breathtaking. But what happened to him? Why can't he walk? His face was unreadable, lips in a straight line, eyes scanning the room like a hawk. When his gaze met yours, it paused, just for a heartbeat. It was enough. He nodded at his parents, gave a polite nod to your family, then looked away without saying a word. And somewhere near you, Gia was trying to mask the disappointment in her eyes. You sat quietly, your fingers wrapped around the glass of water, listening politely as the parents exchanged pleasantries. Gia meanwhile crossed her legs and kept adjusting her hair, lips pursed in frustration. You noticed she still had not greeted Jungkook, not even a nod. You tried not to let it bother you, but when your eyes naturally wandered across the table, they met his. Jungkook was already staring at you, unmoving, unblinking. It was like he had been watching you this whole time. Your faint smile faltered, lips parting just slightly in surprise. You looked away, your heart skipping as a strange heaviness settled in your chest. Just then, Mr. Jones spoke up, his voice slicing through the table chatter. So, Jiashi, how do you find my son? First impression. Jia's painted smile flickered into something darker. She leaned back and laughed, a dry, mocking sound. With all due respect, Mr. Jones, he might be rich and handsome, but what use in all that when he can't even walk? I have certain needs, emotional, physical, and I'm not into charity cases. Before you could say anything more, your mom turned sharply toward her. Gia, enough, sit properly or leave the table. Gia scoffed, but then, don't worry, I won't touch you even if I could walk. His voice was sharp, unforgiving, eyes layered over iron. Gia's face turned red, her jaw clenched. She stood up abruptly, grabbed her clutch, and stormed out of the restaurant, heels striking the floor like thunder. The silence was heavy until Mr. Jones sighed and looked at you and your family. It's better that she left. She wouldn't have understood the weight of this story anyway. He looked over to Jungkook and placed a firm hand on his shoulder. Jungkook met with an accident while saving a child on the road. A drunk driver lost control. My son, he pushed the boy to safety but couldn't save himself in time. His spine took the worst of the impact. Your chest tightened. You turned slowly to Jungkook, guilt twisting in your heart. Your eyes met his again, this time full of apology, empathy. What would I feel if I were him? People judging me by my legs, not my heart. Jungkook said nothing, but his gaze softened for just a second. Then Mrs. Jones broke the silence. Actually, I have something to say to everyone. You turned to her, confused, but she was already smiling genuinely at you. I have been watching Wine all evening. Her manners, her grace, her silence in the face of cruelty. I like her. I would like to make her my daughter in law. Your eyes widened, cheeks instantly turned a shade of pink. You stared at her speechless. But how? You mean with Jungkook? Mr. Jones nodded silently, a small, growling smile forming. Yes, I think they would heal together, and Jungkook deserves someone with a heart like hers. You looked at your mother, blinking in disbelief, then back at Jungkook. His face remained unreadable until his mother asked, Jungkook, would you like to speak with her privately? He paused, then nodded. Everyone slowly stood up and left the room. giving you both space. You remained seated, your heart pounded in your chest. As you glanced toward your mother, she gave you a small, reassuring smile before stepping out. Now it was just the two of you. The room suddenly felt too quiet, too intimate. Jungkook looked at you. You hesitated nervously getting with your bracelet, your eyes darting everywhere but his. He finally broke the silence. You don't have to say yes. You looked up, startled. But I would be lying if I said I didn't want you to. The two of you sat across from each other alone in the quiet lounge of the grand restaurant. The warm golden lights above cast a soft glow on the white tablecloth between you. Jungkook sat silently in his wheelchair, his cold gaze still distant, unreadable, but his eyes occasionally flicked toward you when you were not looking. You, on the other hand, were the first to speak, your voice soft, warm, kind. I'm sorry for what happened earlier, Gia. She said awful things. I hope you didn't take them on heart. Jungkook didn't answer right away. He just let out a faint breath, his jaw tightening slightly. I'm used to it. His words were cold but not cruel. They carried weight, a lifetime of loneliness of being misunderstood. You leaned forward, placing your hand gently on the edge of the table. You shouldn't be. No one deserves to be talked about like that. He glanced at you, his brows lowering just a little, as if he was surprised by your sincerity. Then suddenly he asked, quietly but firmly, are you happy with this proposal, Ryan? You blinked, startled by the directness of his question, but you nodded slowly, offering a small smile. Yes, I am. But he didn't seem convinced. I want to marry someone who sees me for me, not my money, not my name. I know you are not like them. You didn't even know who I was until today. That's why I agreed. You swallowed, feeling a deep rush of emotion. His words were blunt, but there was honesty beneath them. You agreed even after seeing me like this. There was a hint of pain in his voice, quickly masked by a blank stare. You met his gaze and smiled, soft and pure. Jungkook, I didn't agree despite your disability. I agreed because I respect you. Because I can see what kind of man you are beneath that cold face. His lips twitched for the first time as if it getting the urge to smile, but he looked away. There was a pause, then you leaned in, your voice gentle. Can I ask you something? He looked at you warily. Go ahead. Please don't take it the wrong way. I'm just asking, not making fun of you, okay? He nodded slightly, waiting. Will you ever be able to walk again? I mean, what do the doctors say? Can it be cured? Jungkook looked at you silently for a moment, then lowered his gaze. His voice came low, almost hesitant. Yes, it's possible, but it needs careful daily therapy, a lot of effort, and I can't do it alone. He paused, then looked up again. They say it needs someone who can be there consistently, someone who will help, not out of duty, but out of care, and that's usually a wife. You smiled, the warmth in your expression wrapping around him like sunlight. Then I will help you. I'll be there. His eyes searched your face, and for the first time, the coldness in them cracked. Why are you so kind? Because someone needs to be. For the first time, a faint smile touched his lips, just as the conversation between you and Jungkook settled into a rare silence. The soft sound of approaching footsteps echoed in the corridor. You both looked up as your parents and Mr. and Mrs. Jones returned. And the moment Mrs. Jones saw her son still holding the faint trace of a smile on his face, she gasped dramatically, clutching her heart like she was about to faint. Oh my, did the sun rise from the west today? Her voice was loud and playful. Everyone looked toward her, confused, until she pointed dramatically at Jungkook. He's smiling. Jungkook, my son. Honey, look at this. He's actually smiling. Mr. Jones blinked, taken aback. You're right. Since when do you smile like that? Jungkook's faint smile instantly faded, as if someone flipped a switch. His cold expression snapped back in place, and he looked away, slightly annoyed. It was nothing. But Mrs. Jones wasn't having it. She giggled and walked straight over, cupping her son's cheeks and pinching them gently like he was still a boy. Or don't be shy, I'm your mother. I know when someone or something is making you soft. You blushed slightly, especially when she turned to you with eyes shining with affection. Without hesitation, she walked over and pulled you into a warm hug. Why, and thank you for giving my son a reason to smile again. You don't know what this means to me. I haven't done anything yet, ma'am. You just being yourself is enough. And no more, ma'am, call me Oma from now on. You blushed again and glanced at your own parents, who are smiling proudly at the growing bond. I think this alliance is a blessing. We would be honored to have Jungkook as our son in law, and would be proud to call Wine our daughter. Everyone seemed to glow with joy and excitement. It didn't take long after that. Plans were being made, dates were being discussed, and laughter filled the air. The families agreed on an engagement in the coming weeks and a wedding shortly after. Jungkook sad little throughout the conversation, his eyes occasionally resting on you, but never with the noise. There was a quiet peace in his gaze now, a calm you were belonging to understand was rare for him. As you all left the restaurant and stepped into the cool night air, you looked over your shoulder just once, and Jungkook, still in his wheelchair, eyes distant yet thoughtful, you smiled softly to yourself. Something had begun to change. At home, Jia's heels clicked furiously on the marble floor as she paced in her room, fists clenched. What? Jungkook is getting engaged to her, that bland girl. Her face twisted in envy. She had spent months trying to woo the Jones with her charm and reveling smiles, only to be replaced by Wine's simplicity and quiet kindness. Meanwhile, the next day arrived with golden rays filtering into your home. A knock in the main gate catch your attention, and a black luxury car stood outside, polished to a mirror-like shine. The driver stepped out respectfully and bowed. Miss Wine, young Master Joan has sent the car for you. Please allow me to escort you. You blushed slightly and nodded. As you sat inside, the driver gave you a soft smile and introduced himself. I am Minho, Mr. Jones' assistant. If you need anything during the day, please call me right away. You bowed politely, thank you, Minoshi. When you reached the upscale shopping mall, Jungkook was already waiting outside, dressed in a sleek black turtleneck and grey slacks, executing charisma even in his wheelchair. You instantly bowed and walked toward him. He gave you a subtle nod, allowing you to take the handles of his wheelchair. Call me if you need anything, young master. I'll be fine. Go. With that, Minho left and you gently began to push his chair. You admired how confident he looked, unbothered by the eyes around him, even though you could feel the stares burning your skin. He guided you toward the men's section first, picking up a couple of things. When it was your turn to shop, you hesitated at the price tags. This is too much. I don't need anything expensive. Did I ask you to worry about the price? Take what you like, but I hate repeating myself, Vine. You nodded meekly and took a few simple pieces, still not extravagant. After a while, as you both moved through the mall, your stomach gave a little growl. I'm hungry, cook. He froze mid turn. What? Did you just call me? Cook, your new nickname from now on. Do you like it? He didn't reply. Instead, he sat straighter in his chair, eyes fixed ahead. But you saw it, that faint tint of red blooming on his pale cheeks. You leaned slightly closer and whispered teasingly, your ears are turning red, Cook. He still didn't reply, but his lips curled for a millisecond before returning to their usual cold line. At the restaurant inside the high end shopping mall, the atmosphere was cozy, filled with soft music and warm lighting. You were seated across from Jungkook, who was sipping his bitter coffee in silence. You, on the other hand, couldn't help but watch him, his sharp jawline, the way his fingers tapped in the table, the way he avoided eye contact with everyone around him. Your heart swelled, he was always so composed, but lonely. Then came the annoying interruption. Three overly made up girls settled at the table beside yours, wearing loud perfume and louder voices. They immediately noticed Jungkook. Is this who I think it is? John Jungkook, the CEO's only son. Yeah, but what's the point now? Rich, yes, but in a wheelchair? No thanks. Imagine marrying him. You would have to push him everywhere like a nurse. Forget marriage, I doubt he can even do anything in bed. They all laughed shamelessly. You heard every word. You glanced at Jungkook, but he showed no emotion. He was pretending not to hear, but his fingers had gone still. Your jaw clenched. Then girl two leaned a little, eyeing you. And who is she? His babysitter? Nah, maybe he hired her, or she is just another social climber hoping for a rich, broken husband. You slammed your coffee cup down with a sharp clack. Excuse me. They turned fake, innocent smiles on their lips. Yes, I was wondering how it's possible to have so much makeup on your faces and still be this ugly on the inside. Their smiles dropped. What did you just say? You heard me. You talk about him like he's less of a man just because he can't walk. Shame on you. We're just being honest. Oh, really? Then let me be honest too. You three sound like bitter, shallow nobodies who wouldn't know a real man even if he sat right next to you. Oh, wait, he's sitting here, but he would never look at you. Watch your mouth. Why? You didn't watch yours? If being in a wheelchair makes someone weak, then I wonder what your excuse is for being completely brainless while walking just fine. The girl stood up fuming. You crazy? You calmly picked up your coffee cup, opened the lid, and splashed it across the table, narrowing, missing their bags, but landing right on their designer outfits. Oops, the entire restaurant turned to look. They shrieked, you psycho, this was imported silk. Hope the coffee helps melt the fake off your skin. They turned to Jungkook for support, still hoping to save face. Or not you going to say something? She's insane. But Jungkook, without even blinking, responded coldly. I don't waste words on garbage. Their faces turned red with embarrassment and rage. You are going to regret this. And you are going to regret waking up today. The girls grabbed their purses and stormed off, humiliated. The silence that followed was deafening. You turned back to Jungkook, chest rising and falling from the adrenaline. He was just staring at you. Wine? I said, leave it. How could I? How could anyone talk about you like that and expect me to stay silent? He didn't respond, but there was something flickering in his gaze, respect, and something deeper. After a week, the wedding day arrived like a dream wrapped in gold. You stood in front of the full length mirror, your ivory lehenga cascading around your feet like a river of pearls. The delicate golden embroidery shimmered every time you moved, and your dupatta was pinned neatly over your head. Soft curls framed your glowing face, and your eyes sparkled with emotion, not just for the man you were marrying, but for the life you were about to begin. Your sister stood beside you, adjusting your jewelry with teary eyes, despite her earlier jealousy. Even she couldn't deny how divine you looked. At the venue, Jungkook was already seated, dressed in an off-white tuxedo, the subtle embroidery traced along the collar and cuffs, regal yet elegant. His hair was brushed back neatly, and though he still sat in the wheelchair, he looked like a king in your eyes. The guests murmured in admiration. The ceremony began, your parents' eyes filled with pride. When the rings were exchanged, Jungkook gently slid the bang onto your finger, then slowly lifted your hand to his lips, kissing your knuckles with the softest touch. Your breath catch and a flutter bloomed in your chest. Your heart whispered, he didn't kiss my lips, but that one kiss, it held everything. After the celebration, you both departed for his private pension, modern, serene, and surrounded by lush greenery. It was your new beginning. 1 month later, every morning started with you helping with him getting ready. For his routine to his meals, you became his hands when he was tired, his feet when he was helpless, and slowly his heart. He wasn't overly expressive, but his quiet glances, the way his eyes followed you around the room, the subtle curve of his lips when you smiled at him, he was healing from inside out. Jungkook sat at the large window of the living room nervously. Getting with the edge of his sleeves, whine, I'm scared. You walked over, kneeled beside him, and cupped his face gently. Hey, look at me. We have come so far, haven't we? You have been brave this whole time, and I'm right here always. He didn't say anything for a moment, just stared in your eyes like they were the only thing keeping him grounded. You leaned forward and kissed his cheek, tender and slow. You will be okay, my cook. At that, he held your face, fingers trembling, and for the first time, he leaned in and placed a soft kiss on your lips. There was no rush, no fire, just depth, warmth, and the silent promise of forever. Later at the hospital, the doctors wheeled him away while you clutched his hand until the very last second. 2 long hours passed like an eternity. You sat outside, heart pounding in your chest. Finally, the door opened and the doctor came out, removing his gloves. The operation was a success. Everything went perfectly. You gasped, eyes welling up with tears, as a wide smile spread across your face. Without thinking, you sprinted past the doctor and into the room. Jungkook lay on the bed, unconscious but peaceful. You walked over slowly, brushing your fingers gently through his hair. You did it, my love. I'm so proud of you. You sat beside him, holding his hand close to your chest, whispering prayers of gratitude as the man you loved took his first steps toward healing. The room was quiet except for the gentle beeping of machines. You sat beside his bed, your fingers still laced with his, head resting on the edge of the mattress as sleep quietly tugged at your eyes. You hadn't moved in hours, too afraid to miss the moment he wake up. Then you felt it, the slight twitch of his fingers in yours. You lifted your head immediately, heart pounding as his eyelids fluttered open. His deep brown eyes slowly focused on your face. Wine. His voice was raspy, weak, but the soft smile that curved on his lips made your heart throb painfully with relief. You're awake, thank God. Tears instantly spilled from your eyes as you cupped his cheeks. You didn't even realize you were crying until he lifted his hand and wiped a tear with his thumb, so gently as if you were made of glass. Don't cry, beautiful. I'm okay now. You stayed with me through everything. Thank you, my wine. You leaned in, forehead resting gently against his, your eyes closing as the warmth of him settled into your soul. I told you we would get through this together, and now you are the really back. He took your hand and brought it to his lips, pressing a slow kiss to your knuckles, just like he had on your wedding day. But this time he didn't stop there. With effort, he sat up a little. You helped him with a pillow behind his back, and as he looked at you, his eyes were filled with something tender, something raw love. I don't think I deserve you, but I promise I will spend the rest of my life loving you right. Before you could answer, he pulled you close again and placed a delicate kiss on your forehead. Then, slowly, gently, his lips touched yours, not demanding, not rushed, but full of quiet emotion. His fingers tucked a strand of your hair behind your ear as he whispered against your lips. My wife, my strength, my everything. You smiled through your tears, cupping his face once more. And you are my heart. The room around you faded as you wrapped your arms carefully around his shoulders, resting against his chest as his heartbeat lulled you into peace. That night, no expensive gifts, no fancy words, just the simple truth that love, pure and patient and warm,